Anyway, that was it. I wrote all this down in my journal as it came to my mind. I wrote years of journal entries after that on many subjects and travel experiences. Then one day I packed all of my journals and stored them away. Years later, I was flying across the country on business, part of a team making a pitch to IBM for an annual convention show we had been producing for 3 years running. It so happened that my room that night was booked in a hotel at Times Square on the 30-something floor, facing south and overlooking Lower Manhattan. Some dozens of blocks away, the Twin Towers were piercing the thick cloud cover that formed a charcoal-colored ceiling over the entire urban landscape. I had the urge to dig in my bag for my camera to capture the view on film, and I was just too tired. I just didn't. I wanted to sleep. Besides, I'll no doubt be making more trips to New York, and just thinking I'll be back again. I recall vividly the view from that Times Square hotel window.
No, there's a connection I've had to the south. Specifically, I've discovered to the South Tower, not just to the date itself, but specifically to the South Tower. And I'm telling that story. You know, all the connections I have to that, and it's a curious lineup of connections. And I'm just trying to make sense out of it. You know, what is it? What do I need to do here?
South Tower.
Why the Twin Towers?
Why the South Tower?
And the South Tower particularly played such a recurring role in my life. I am
still
still trying to figure that out. Let's see.
I remember.
I recall my first encounter with this amazing structure.
When the buildings just opened.
It must have been a day in 1974 when I was visiting my brother in the city. I did that a lot. And I stepped out for the day to wander from Broadway and 72nd to downtown, specifically to discover for myself this new building, the World Trade Center towers. It was exciting. When I arrived, I entered the tower that I guessed had the observation deck at the top. I traversed the grand lobby and entered an elevator with the highest floor number on it, just to get as high as I could in the building. That elevator took me to another elevator bank, where I took another elevator to the next set of highest floors. And I finally stepped out, to my surprise, to a vacant space on the 100-something floor of that South Tower. I was able to see 360 degrees because, the floor had not been built out yet. It was just empty. It was sunset, and I walked right up to the glass of one of those narrow windows to see the shadow of the two towers stretching far into Queens and almost into Connecticut. What a magnificent sight. I felt privileged, kind of lucky to witness this magnificent view all to myself on this vacant floor. I look back now and think as if it were like destiny for me to bear witness to this building and its construction for some reason. As if the destiny of the buildings and my destiny were intertwined somehow. For instance, in 1995, I was offered a foam core mounted enlargement of the Lower Manhattan, circa 1974. It was from a coworker who was moving from his office to another office, and he was clearing out stuff and didn't want the picture anymore. So he gave it to me, and I accepted it. I was sentimental about Manhattan, having lived in Vegas for a while. Anyway, for whatever reason, I accepted it because I just felt like looking at it. It felt, I don't know. I took it. I very recently noticed a scratch on the picture as I was pulling it out to make this film, and the end of that scratch anyway, is essentially indicates the basic location of impact by the second airliner into that South Tower. It's just very curious and very disturbing. I don't know why all this holds such significance. My life and the glimpses I've had into the truth or into the future is, it's just kind of glimpses into suffering. I watched this psychic painting come to life. I watched as thousands of people perished. I didn't perish. I wasn't standing on the street of Manhattan on that very day to watch the towers crumble. I wasn't trapped in the rubble. I didn't lose loved ones to that tragedy. I was spared physically. Yet the circumstances and sequence of events in my life tied me inextricably to the life and the death of that building, the South Tower.
Another sign.
There's,
Would you have noticed that scratch prior?
I didn't. No.
You did not.
I did not. I only noticed it afterwards, knowing that that was a point of impact.